Welcome everyone. I'm your host Matt for another Primal Podcast brought to you, of course, by Primal Health and Nutrition. As always, you can go back and listen to this podcast on YouTube, or you can read the transcript on primalhn.com. Under the Home tab and click on Blog, you'll find this and many, many more things that you can read and indulge in so that you can be more and more educated about your body and how to best treat it while living a myriad of different diets. Okay, so we're going to get started right away. Last time we discussed non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and how they're to be avoided, if at all possible, while living the AIP or autoimmune protocol diet. For those of you just joining us, you can always go back, as I mentioned before, to previous podcasts and to learn more about things like steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and more. But for your convenience, the AIP diet stems from the paleo diet, and it stands for the Autoimmune protocol diet. And it's focused on eliminating foods that cause inflammation in the body by simply removing them. And one of those are nuts, and we're going to discuss that today. Most diets will allow for the consumption of nuts, including the paleo diet. So it may be somewhat of a surprise to learn that the AIP diet does not allow nuts. And why is that? And that's of course a good question. That's why it's included. Nuts have good fats. They help the body. They also serve as a good snack to lean on when you're starting a new diet. I mean, if you've done no carb or keto or paleo or a bunch of others, nuts are a great source of some protein and some fats, and it's an easy snack to lean on. Unfortunately, that crutch is not available for those living the AIP diet. The reason nuts need to be avoided is fairly simple. Again, they cause inflammation. And why do they cause inflammation? Because they contain lectin, omega-6s, phytic acid, and it's an allergen. And we've talked a little bit about lectin in the past with nightshades, and we're going to dive more into that. But those four major problems are what bring us to today's podcast. And we'll start right now with lectin. Lectin is a carbohydrate binding. They're carbohydrates binding proteins that are actually high in sugar. But don't be confused with lectin and lecithin. A very similar word, but different meanings. Lecithin is a fatty substance, and lectin, as mentioned, is usually a bit more sugary carbohydrate substance. Truth be told, lectin can be found in nearly any food, but lectin in nuts doesn't digest well and increases intestinal permeability and interacts with the lining of the gut and can aggravate autoimmune conditions. These all have very, very similar effects across the board when it comes to interacting with the lining of the stomach, which is called leaky gut. And we'll discuss more of that as we go along with these other reasons. The next one on the list is omega-6s. Omega-6 fatty acids. Most of the time, a great thing to have, but it turns out to be a culprit in this case because this polyunsaturated fat, the nut, if it has an unbalanced relationship with if it has a favorable amount of omega-6s to omega-3s, which nuts have, when that ratio is off, it can trigger the body to produce pro-inflammatory chemicals. And this obviously, again, does not bode well for those in the autoimmune disease. As soon as you have those pro-inflammatory chemicals, your body in turn is going to have flares, it's going to have issues. So the next two are the phytic acid and allergens. But before I do that, I want to thank our sponsors, Primal Health and Nutrition, for these quick and easy podcasts that allow people to get their information, get on with their life. They are the only company I'm aware of that always builds AIP conscious type products. And what does that mean? That means that they are completely compliant or they are 99% compliant with the AIP diet. This is pretty good considering when you purchase, I don't know if you know this, but when you purchase an organic food, or, well, not an organic food, but an organic product, it just has to be 95% organic. So 5%, you have leniency on what can be included there. So a lot of companies will do that, and they can still name it organic. In this case, Primal Health and Nutrition, they are 99% compliant or 100% compliant, which is pretty good. Because even the FDA, if they determined to make a seal for AIP compliant, we would hit it every single time. But for the sake of everybody understanding what's in the product, and so they can appropriately get on the elimination phase with the AIP diet and then eventually on to bigger and better things by reintroducing things, we are very clear and we ensure that everybody knows what's in the product. They've just barely released their Paleo Perfection Vanilla Banana Protein, and it has a touch of stevia in there, but some would say it's nearly undetectable. Organic stevia, correction. About the protein, a customer, David Rode, who actually works with Paleo on the Go, had to say about this on the Paleo Perfection grass-fed collagen protein line. It says, I ordered Primal Health and Nutrition's Paleo Perfection protein powder after seeing them included as a nominee in the Paleo magazine's best of editions in the protein powder category. I have since ordered again. What interests me about the product is that it's derived from grass-fed beef, and all the other ingredients besides the organic stevia leaf are organic vegetables and organic fruits. There are no additives, no chemicals. I figured out my smoothie recipe and everything came out tasty. The only drawback, he says, is the product, which I think can be avoided, is the product is a little sticky once it interacts with water. I have definitely been enjoying the product, and it didn't clash with my body, which is very sensitive. He has leaky gut, autoimmune disease. I really appreciate and want to support Primal Health and Nutrition for not sacrificing their integrity, but instead they produce a product that hasn't been destroyed or damaged by dangerous ingredients. So I think I can deal with one drawback, the sticky substance sometimes. Plus, I'm a little messy, so you may not have the same issue. No complaints here. Great product. So again, if you haven't tried Primal Health and Nutrition's products yet, you need to give them a try. Go to their website, primalation.com, click on the store button, and you'll be led to all the products they have available, and you can just start ordering. The nice thing about them is they don't make you commit to a full container, a full 1 pound container. You can just buy a sample if you just want to sample it. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I don't know how many companies will allow you to sample a product, allow you just to purchase one product online to try it out before you buy it. And Primal Health and Nutrition is one of those. So we're going to go on to our last two bits of information here. And the next one is phytic acid. There is plenty and tons of phytic acid in, it's a very high amount in nuts. And the issue with phytic acid is it doesn't absorb well in the body. And if it's overconsumed, it could lead to leaky gut. Now I say overconsumed because those of you that perhaps aren't leaving the AIP diet could still experience something similar. What happens is these digestive enzymes are so overwhelmed, the digestive enzymes in your stomach are so overwhelmed by this phytic acid entering into your stomach that it begins to penetrate the barrier of the lining of the stomach and causes leaky gut, which then allows it to enter into the bloodstream and in turn causes flares throughout your body. This is a common problem, as mentioned not only in David Rhodes' review, but also throughout the AIP community. Last and probably potentially the biggest reason to avoid consuming nuts is on the AIP diet and other diets is that it's a very common allergen. Leaky gut afflicts most people with autoimmune disease, which increases the sensitivity to food allergens. And when people decide to continue to consume those foods they have allergies to, they increase their sensitivity. It becomes harder and harder to heal leaky gut, which in turn will ultimately deactivate an overactive immune system. So if you continue to consume foods that are going to cause allergic reactions, it's going to continue to deteriorate that barrier in your gut and potentially cause additional issues, especially if you have an autoimmune disease. So be careful out there. Those nuts are everywhere. But in all seriousness, as you look at the different benefits associated with the AIP diet and those things that you can do to naturally heal your body by sticking to a diet that is extremely restrictive, you can heal your gut and you can begin to deactivate that overactive immune system and in turn begin to feel much better. And as has been mentioned many times, there are several people that have experienced great success by following this diet and received relief of pain and much better lives. So again, this is Matt. I'm your host for this Primal Podcast, and I will see you later.